Testing for a VA FHA loan is typically four things: lead, copper, E. coli, turbidity. Now, talk to your lender, because your lender, if you got one perhaps on the mainland, they may have additional requirements that they want, or maybe they don't even want the four that I mentioned. Maybe they want two or three different ones. So ACOS is a lab. They're a business. That's how they make money. So I don't want your buyer, your client, to pay for tests that they don't need. So let's get very specific as to ask the lender, send me a list, exactly what you want. We'll move forward. Now, currently ACOS charges about $475 to do this testing. So we want to make sure it passes the first time, if at all possible, because that's a huge investment for your buyer. Typical turnaround time is 2 to 3 weeks. So I recommend that you get ahead of the game, talk to your lender and say, hey, we're doing a VA, we're doing an FHA, it is on Catchment. Do we need water samples? If so, depending on where the home is located, for example, I live in HPP. So if the home is in HPP, I might just run over there and pull the samples and take them to the airport and send them to the lab 2 weeks before we even do the inspection to get the ball rolling. Because again, 2 to 3 week delay could be huge. Now, ACOS will offer a rush sampling. So they're a business. So if you find yourself in a situation where, again, it's usually a main lender, and they call 2 days before closing and they say, oh, hey, we need water. And nobody ever mentioned this before. So ACOS offers a rush. I think they charge an extra $100, but you'd have to contact them for that. Now, as far as billing, some home inspection companies, primarily I think in Kona, they like to bundle it. So they'll say, hey, we'll do the whole thing for $1,000. We don't do that. So what I do is I'm going to send the buyers, your client's information to ACOS. I'm going to say, Bob Smith, here's the house address, here's Bob's email and his phone number. And they're going to bill Bob directly, because I don't know if Bob needs a rush. So if Bob wants to pay them the extra $100, that's on Bob. Now, as far as our fee is concerned, we only charge $80. So if I'm doing the home inspection and I'm standing in the house, I'm not going to charge you to sample the water. So the $80 simply covers Hawaiian Air Cargo, the shipping. There's a shipping charge for the airlines, and there's a requirement from TSA to screen the box before it goes to make sure it's not a bomb. So then they charge like $15. So part of that 80 is TSA's money. So what I do is I like to send out a group email so that everyone's in the same loop. So I'll send an email to the buyer, the buyer's agent, the listing agent, and ACOS. I put everybody in the same group, and I say, hey, we're going to pull a sample from this address on Monday. I'm going to ship it Tuesday morning. Do you have somebody available to receive it? Because ACOS's office is about a 45-minute drive one way to the airport. So I have to make sure ahead of time that they have a representative or an employee that can break free and drive the 45 minutes to get the sample and drive back to the lab. So once all that's coordinated and they send me an email back and say, yep, we're good, then we move on about our business. At that point, I'm going to contact the listing agent. And I'm going to say, hey, look, I want you guys to move forward with this. So let's put like 2 ounces of chlorine per 1,000 gallons in the tank. Let's make sure that the water filters have been changed. Let's make sure the UV lights still got plenty of time left, or if it's a quantum disinfection, it hasn't reached those 200,000 gallon limit. Everything's good. Now, if I did the inspection, I know what I'm looking at because I've already shot an underwater video inside the tank. I've already looked at and inspected the water filtration system. I know. But in many cases, I get a phone call out of the blue of a home I've never been to. So I'm walking in blind. So I try to connect with the listing agent, say, hey, what do they got? You know, do they have one filter? Are they using a swimming pool? I mean, I see the crazy stuff out there. So I will make recommendations in an attempt to make your sample pass. And then once I get there, I'm going to send a list and go, hey, look, your odds of passing are low, If you want us to pull the sample, we will, but you might be wasting $475. So let's make some changes. Let's see. So we collect the samples, we package them, we fill out all the paperwork, and we drop them off at the airport. At that point, we're going to email ACOS, and we're going to say, okay, the samples are on flight 237. It's leaving at 10 a.m. It's going to be there at 11 a.m. so that everybody's in the loop. Everybody knows what's happening. Back to our fees. The way we have ours set up is $80, which again covers the TSA and the shipping. If I'm the one doing the inspection, we offer that as a service. We collect the samples for free. If you decide, we have scenarios where perhaps the buyer's agent knows the house is in rough shape. We may have to bring in a contractor. We may have to bring in a roofer. We might want to bring in an electrician or a plumber. So we don't want to pay the $475 yet. Okay. If we have to return to the house that we inspected, it's $140. And that includes the $80. Now, if I'm not involved at all, if you call me out of the blue and say, I just need you to go to this house and pull samples, it's $240. That sounds like a high fee, but I think if you do a little research, we're still way below my competition. Because we have to take a whole day out of our system to maybe not be able to do a home inspection that day. We're just going to do a water sample. Please be aware. If all these things do not happen in a timely manner, if everything is not perfect, if the emails aren't right, if the communication is not right, if the samples sit at the airport overnight, the lab will throw them in the trash and you're starting from scratch. So all this has to be done right. The packaging, the shipping, everything, or you're starting all over again. So hit me up with questions if you have some later, and you have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve. And again, everybody. We are gonna keep your cat questions. So yeah, keep putting them on the chat, or just write them down and we'll talk about them later. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our friend Sanyu Barnicoat from Longbridge Financial, our loan lady. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Originally, I was going to go first, and then JD changed it up. So
I didn't do it.
Steve said everything I was going to say. And I represent the lender in any transaction that lender's point of view in the transactions that you'll be doing that have catchment. The types of loans that are coming into play that are very important with this topic are the FHA financing and the VA financing and the reverse mortgage financing. So most of the realtors in the room are going to think reverse mortgage financing for a purchase. That's a different hot topic that we will have. But yes, people can use a reverse mortgage to buy a home. And that falls in within the FHA guidelines. So everything that Steve mentioned about the process and the timing and the preps, this is the conversation I have with most of your customers. Because our intention is to help them have their water test pass. In the event that we cannot make that happen, my next colleague is going to talk about some remedies on how to clean that up. But what I wanted to share with you is the whole point of most of the lenders have underwriters that are on the mainland. Catchments is something that they are not familiar with. It doesn't matter how many loans they've done in Hawaii. I've been in the state of Hawaii for 15 years, and I've been doing loans for 15 years. And I tell you, every company I work with, they are asking the same question. What is it? What does it look like? Why do we have this? So we go through the tests. And my go-to person right now is Steve. And I call him up out of the blue and say, hey, the listing agent did not put this on the to-do, but we're going to have to do it. So I usually call Steve at the last minute, and he's very, very responsive. So what we do is we are going to do everything possible to make sure that the water test passes. There are some references online in terms of the standards because most homeowners are going to argue with us, say that we've been here, we haven't been sick, we know our water is clean, and we say, great, but go work with us. Please work with us, because we want to get your financing. In the event that the underwriter insists that we get either public water or drill a well, that's the conversations that we as loan officers have all the time. And as a realtors, please do not get surprised when I call you and say, we need to do an estimate on a private well to be drilled. And we have some resources in the community that will go to the TMK and assess the feasibility of drilling a well. In 15 years, I've never had a well drilled because of that situation.
Do you know what the cost would be for?
They always give me an estimate, and most of them have been in 120,000, 200,000, depending on where they are. Are they up on the top of the hill? Are they close to the ocean? And most of the time, they have stopped and said, this is how much it's going to cost. But if it's so close to the ocean, we don't guarantee the quality of the water. But I just want to share with you that these are steps that we have to go through to have the financing approved. We are not making life miserable for anybody. We're just trying to make it easy for everybody. So my message to you is that when you're working with a buyer, make sure that they are aware of these tests that have to go through. And if they're working with another loan officer that is not experienced in this, have your buyer or you as a realtor get the loan officer into the game early enough so you don't waste time. Because our intention is to close on an escrow date. Everybody's happy if we close on time. That's all I have to share. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Sanyu. And again, thank you everybody for putting some questions into the chat and joining us here. Now I'd like to introduce Uncle Tilo from Uncle Tilo's Catchment or Clean Water.
All right. Well, thank you, JD. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And thank you, Sanyu and Steve, for giving us some insights into the FHA and VA loan programs and what they require when it comes to catchment here in Hawaii. So my presentation today is going to be more specific to catchment systems and what we've really been talking about with taking the water samples. It's really about assessing your risk when it comes to having catchment as your primary water source on a residence. And so here in the 8 years that we've been in business, this is something that we've really looked at, and what we've come up with is a product called the Catchment Inspection Report. It is just a science-based risk assessment that's going to give us some way to take a look at how your catchment system is operating and give us some ideas of when it comes time for financing with either FHA or VA loan requirements, that you've got some idea before you go in to take that test of whether or not you're going to do okay on that. So we do have some slides here, and the thing that's driving our interest in this is the problem in Hawaii is we do have a lot of residences that are on catchment systems. And when it comes to catchment, there is requirements. There's things we need to think about. We need to educate ourselves if we want to stay safe. These things are private water systems. That means that not only is that water out there in the backyard in that tank yours to use for showering and everything else, but you're also the water department at this point. You're the one that has to take care of it. You're the one that is going to be affected by that water quality. And if there is problems, you are going to experience some health problems. Those health risks involve a number of things. Lead has always been one of the big ones here in Hawaii, and a lot of that is driven by the acidity of rainfall. The other ones, being in the tropics, we do deal with the bacterias and the parasitic diseases that we associate here. Most of us are familiar with the rat lungworm parasites. Definitely something that's been looked at a lot. And if you're on catchment, it's something that, you know, the U of H studies have said you need to pay attention. If you're on catchment, there's a risk for all these pathogens in our environment. And definitely when it comes to real estate transactions, you know, I think a lot of people coming into a new home, they really want to know as much as they can about their situation. I do talk with a lot of people coming from the mainland, and I'm always surprised when they say, oh yeah, I'm showing up, I got this free water. My realtor said this is the best water around. I can just catch it for free and it doesn't cost me a thing. And it's like, well, there was a little bit more to it than that. You've got a lot of equipment in there. You really need to be paying attention to that water quality. And treatment is definitely something that we all want to make sure we have. So we know what the problems are. So now we get to the solution. Our solution basically started when we started our business a little over 8 years ago, and that was to really focus on the education. We want to make sure everybody knows what they're working with and how to go about maintaining their system to keep everybody safe. The CIR is just that one component that will look at the entire water system. It is just a simple 18 question format to work through. And each one of those 18 questions focuses on one aspect of your catchment system. It includes everything from the roof to the faucet. Definitely we look at filtration systems, but it just gives us some idea of every system is going to be different. So how many risks does your system show versus how many risks that I have on my system? Definitely on my catchment inspection report, my system ranks pretty low. I don't have that many risks. But when I'm going out there and looking at all these systems, I do find a lot of risks out there, and some of them are easy to address. Others, we just need to kind of work through that education a little bit, inform everybody. And property values here in Hawaii, the one thing that's always kind of gotten to me about being here in Hawaii was that whole concept of, I've got a catchment system, it's not clean enough for me to drink, but I'm supposed to shower in it. And when it comes to drinking, the county has provided these nice drinking water spigots around the island so that I can go take a bottle, fill up my water with some municipal water, and then haul it home so I have something to cook with and drink. When I look at a house and I'm thinking, all right, this is a nice looking house, it comes with a price tag, but if I'm looking at two houses with the same price, one I can drink the water, the other one I'm going to be spending time every week hauling water back and forth. I'm definitely going to be thinking about, I would much rather be more autonomous. So next slide. So now that we've kind of got some idea of what's going on here, I wanted to give a little bit of a background. Some of the studies that have been out there have said 60,000 people are on rainwater catchment. Some of my numbers that I've projected say that there could be as much as half the population of the Big Island on rainwater catchment. So we're talking closer to 100,000 people. With all the new construction going on, a lot of our subdivisions are strictly on rainwater. The only alternative is that some people do decide it's time to put in a water well, and then they don't have to think about those dry spells. But again, it is something that regardless of your water source, you are going to have to be thinking about what we need to be doing. So part of what we do on our risk assessment is we're looking for the guidance. So ARCSA is one of the organizations that we're part of. ARCSA has Standard 63, which is an internationally adopted guideline for the use of catchment on residential. This is something that has been developed over the last 25 years. It has a lot of information on it, but when it comes to Hawaii, it's not the best for somebody trying to figure out what they need to be doing. So we have another piece of information that was put out by Patricia McComber. Patricia did all her studies starting around 2000. The first edition of this book came out in 2004. It's been updated in 2010 and most recently in 2020. But this contains the guidance that tells us how we're supposed to maintain our system. So maintenance is, according to Patricia McComber, she was the one that introduced that concept of adding bleach and baking soda every month. So there is, a scientific principle on that. There's definitely a lot we can take from Patricia's work, but again, it's something that even as an engineer, it took me quite a while to even read through that book and then try to figure out what we're supposed to be doing. So what we came up with is Uncle Tilo has our own little book. It's our Just the Basics book, but it does contain all the information that we need. And when it comes to that monthly maintenance, the center of this little booklet does have all the information, our little checklist, what we need to be looking at. And on this little water report card over here, this thing has the magic formulas, how much bleach, how much baking soda. But that's something that the water that we collect in these catchment systems might be fresh rainwater coming out of the sky, but as soon as it hits our roof, it starts picking up debris. By the time it gets into our tank, it contains leaves, bird feathers, all kinds of stuff, and it's never going to stay pristine unless we do something about it. That's the monthly maintenance part. So this getting back to that educational element, I mean, that is something that's been our core. We've presented over 130 free classes over the years. We are in our 9th year of doing our first Saturday free education event. We do try to present this information in a form that's usable for people, and we try to address all these risks that we are exposing ourselves to on catchment. And you already heard the FHA and the VA loan requirements. They're just specific to the lenders. They want to make sure that we keep these families safe that are buying these homes. We want our community to be safe, and we want to support that effort any way we can. So the next slide here comes up with the solutions that we can come up with. Definitely our solutions involve the things that we already provide. The CIR, the Catchment Inspection Report, is something that we can tell you on any given system. We'll give you the opportunity to see what risks are associated with each individual property. Not all of them are the same, so we need to distinguish between one and another, and especially on these FHA and VA water sample opportunities here. That water sample is just one snapshot. So if we get a clean test, it's good, everybody's moving forward, and we keep everybody happy. But really, that water sample is just a one-off. I might come back to that same job 2-3 months later, and I might look at it and go, yes, I think we need to take another sample because I don't think your water is that good anymore. The next solution is definitely that free education opportunity that we provide. First Saturdays of every month, we do try to advertise that as much as we can, And I encourage all realtors that, and if you're involved in a property sale that includes catchment or even another private water supply like a well system, that, send them to our free class. There's no obligation to buy. We're just presenting information and giving people a place to ask the questions and find the resources that they need to keep themselves safe. And again, one of the solutions with the realtors being involved is everybody's going to remember the realtor that helped them out. So the people that are coming from the mainland, if you can steer them in the right direction, they feel like they were heard and they got sent in the right direction, it's going to go a long ways down the road for everybody being happy. So next slide. So this prototype here that we're talking about, we're basically for 8 years we've been pushing to raise the standard a little bit. When we came here and started, yes, we saw a lot of swimming pools being used for water storage. We saw a lot of places that didn't have filters or maybe just one filter. But again, those are just things that the more education we can get out there, the more people understand what all these upgrades will do for them to lower their risk. And when it comes to the fact that we're not regulated in the state of Hawaii by any government agency, these private water systems are just left for the individuals that own them. You can do whatever you want, but if you want to be safe, you really need to be, paying attention. And in Hawaii, being Pono goes a long ways. If you respect the water, you're gonna be able to respect yourself a lot more. And when it comes to the change, I mean, that's just something that, we can push all we want, but again, people have to come to this with the expectation that there's something valuable there for them to learn. So anything the realtors can do to share that message of, hey, water's important. We know that there's something that you can do. Let's get you pointed in the right direction. So next slide. So the whole test of this system is really to watch what happens in our community. It's about making sure that the families that we work with understand what it is that they can do that will protect themselves and their children. Communities getting involved in this generally find out that, the healthier we are as a community, that the better the living situation for everybody. The one thing that I do want to call out on this one is specific to the big island of Hawaii is the presence of the Kilauea volcano. Pele does introduce a whole new factor in there because rainwater is acidic on its own and it presents some of these concerns for lead exposure. But when we have the presence of fog, it drops that pH of our rainfall to the point where it dissolves a lot more lead out of our plumbing system in our houses. So if you're representing a home on Catchment that's in Kau District or South Kona, Ocean View is a very large area that contains a lot of people on Catchment. And if they're catching the rain over there, guaranteed that pH is going to be down around 4 or 4.5. Their lead exposure risk is 100 times more than what we have here in Lower Puna. So
Yeah, but it happened last week.
So
Yeah.
we did have the eruption last, a couple weeks ago. Episode 41 was quite the eye opener for a lot of people. We did pick up a lot of phone calls because the civil defense started passing out our phone number. So when everybody called civil defense, what do we do with our catchment? And they said, call Uncle Tilo.
Yeah.
So we got inundated with all these phone calls. But, again, it's one of those things. We know we live on a volcano. We know there's certain risks. We just need to know that there are resources and there's things that we can do to protect ourselves when stuff like that happens. So next slide. So education is something that has created the biggest impact here in the 8 years that we've been in business. Just by presenting some information that people can grasp in short order, something they can read through. This little booklet was created for Project WET, which is bringing water education into the school system. So, we tried to incorporate as, easy a language as possible but still give something that it can be impactful. And for the most part, Patricia McComer's recommendation for the bleach and the baking soda is something that I'll tell everybody, that's what you need to be doing. If you're on catchment, you need to be treating that water every month. Our system just kind of, giving everybody this little magic formula goes a long ways to making sure that everybody knows how much bleach and baking soda and what the proper way is to get that introduced into the system. Last slide here. So this catchment inspection report that we offer is something that is available at our online store on our website. It comes with a price tag of $400, but that $400 gives you an evaluation of your system from top to bottom. It identifies your equipment. It looks at age issues. If there is maintenance that hasn't been performed that is going to affect, whether or not you're going to be able to keep water in your tank for very much longer. Definitely there are maintenance items that come up all the time. These open top steel tanks do require tarp replacements regular. There's a lot of things that show up that maybe we don't think of right away, but something that is accessible with just a little bit of homework. So the catchment inspection report is just one way to address those risks. Educating yourself is another great way to do it. And any time that we can protect the community and protect families is going to go a long ways to increase the value of the properties we're on. If you have a listing where that water is something that we can drink, it's going to go a lot further than someplace where you kind of look at it and go, well, I don't know, should I be showering in it? And I'm definitely not drinking it. So that means I'm buying bottled water for the next how long? So just lots of things to consider there, but definitely education and knowing those risks go a long ways to keep us healthy and answer some of those basic questions we're looking for. So one more. So I'd just like to thank everybody for taking the time today to listen and to take this interest in what it is that we have here in Hawaii with the use of catchment system for private water sources. As far as water quality, I think rainwater is definitely one of the highest quality waters you can have. But again, it's something that if you don't put in the time and you don't treat that water on a regular basis, it's not going to be there for you. It's not going to provide what you are expecting. Somebody if I had a house in town, I would expect that water to come out of the tap clean every time I turned it on. On catchment, the only way I know it's going to come out clean is if I'm actually doing that part, maintaining it on a monthly basis, paying attention. If there is a problem, I want to know. And if something comes up like another eruption that's going to affect us all, it's nice to know there's a source of information out there that we can go to quickly to find out, okay, how bad is it? What do we need to do? So I would like to just say thanks to everybody again. Hawaii Island Board of Realtors has been excellent in helping us get the word out, and I just appreciate every effort everybody makes to keep us moving forward on this island, because our community really does deserve to have the best water available. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, applause for everyone. Thank you, Uncle Tilo and Steve and Sanyu so much. Yeah, we're gonna do questions here in just a second. And those of you that know me, I always have something to say because things all start making sense and working together. And things that we're doing on our education committee, things we're doing on our great team. Thinking about the title of this program today, Elevating Standards for Homes on Catchment. Your participation here today, hopefully is going to help elevate your value as a realtor in the community. And it's also going to help elevate the profession of real estate. All things that we need to be aware of and all things that we try to do to help you as we put on classes, we do programs and such. So anybody, if you have any ideas, concepts, questions, topics, please feel free to shoot them our way because we can help make it happen. All right, so if we could have all of our presenters come on up, because I would like to have, if it is appropriate for the question, to have you all kind of put in your 2 cents on them, not whether just doing 1-to-1 and so on. We got a couple here in the chat, but I know Linda, you had your hand up?
I get asked this question a lot. What is an average cost for maintenance on like a 10,000 gallon tank and a $15,000 or gallon tank? So I know it's a range, but if it not replacing the tarp, just an average cost or a range of cost.
So
to maintain.
So when it comes to maintenance, we do have a water partner, and there are people in the community that will provide a monthly maintenance service for people. If you want to pay somebody to come in and add the bleach and the baking soda, keep track of your water quality, help you change the filters, you're looking somewhere between $50 and $100 a month. Just depends on how complicated your system is and how often you're changing your filters, but that is something that is provided through a number of different people on the island.
Okay. Then another question, I think this was during Steve's presentation. What is the spelling of the company name that does the water testing? I think they're relating to ACOS. Is it?
Yes, it's AECOS.
Thank you, Amber Lynn online. She got that for us.
It is ACOS Water Lab. Hang on just a second. I'll get you a phone number. Their number is 808-234-7770. The gal that runs it, her name is Ann Mello, and her email is amello, MELLO, @acos.com. And they're located in Kaneohe on Oahu.
Can you spell that again?
AECOS.
All right.
And they are the certified testing lab in Hawaii. So if you go through the Department of Health or the water department and ask about testing, most of the websites do have ACOS labs referenced on them.
Yeah, actually, the Department of Health, they just don't have any standards. They're just gonna refer you to these guys or to ACOS. When I've approached them, because sometimes we get requests to give standards for quality of water, so that the health department does not have a standard established, but ACOS has the standards that we have to play to.
All right, thank you all. Just a heads up, everybody in the room and out there on Zoom. Ashley put the contact information up here for Steve and Uncle Tilo and Sanyu. And make sure to get that before we're done. Question, what does the CIR cost?
No, we already talked about that one, but it's on our website. If you go to our online store at tiloscleanwater.com, you'll see the CIR is listed on there on the menu for $400. And that's just the flat rate for any property within our local area.
Okay, thank you. And next one, I know we're gonna have some things that have been covered, but because of how we took the questions earlier on. Does Tilo send samples to a lab or do they do it themselves?
So when it comes to the water sampling, I do not work with ACOS very often. It's been years since I've sent in a sample. For the most part, I just believe in being proactive. I would much rather assess the risk. I do the at-home screening tests that are available. It's reliable enough for what I'm trying to address, and the proactive part is probably the most important. If you're worried about there being E. coli in your tank, like Steve said, before, we do anything else, it'd be much better to just do a water treatment, start treating the problem. If you think it's there, do your maintenance. And then if you want to confirm that there's not a problem at that point, then, I'm all for taking the water sample and sending it to a testing lab.
But in terms of when we get to financing, sometimes the homeowners or the seller says, we've been maintaining it and we have this record that is being maintained monthly. Unfortunately, for compliance, we do have to have the results from the lab before we can finalize the loan. So just be prepared,
Okay. All right. Again, I think we covered this, but it's not a problem. We'll do it again. Do you give tips to catchment owners on what to do when we experience these frequent eruptions with Pele?
So we did put out a flyer. We put out our first flyer in 2018 during the Leilani eruption. But for the most part, there is a lot of information out there. But specifically, what we are calling for is just to make sure that you have some way to disconnect your system, so that if you do have an ash fall or Pele's hairs coming out of the sky, we want to be able to have homeowners be able to go out behind their house and have one valve or one cap to remove, so that all the water coming off the roof is now going to go on the ground and not into their tank. So that was the biggest thing during this last eruption is, it's making sure you have some way to maintain your system, and that sometimes means disconnecting your water supply going to the tank. And if you don't have a valve or an easy way to disconnect, that's where I've been encountering the people that took the Sawzall and cut the pipes, the people that yanked the downspouts off and ended up pulling the gutters off the house. I mean, I've seen some crazy things in the last 2 weeks, but being prepared, just knowing ahead of time, that's the key is being able to find that information and just know, hey, if you're worried about it, ask some questions.
Yeah.
And at least start there.
And that's where education comes in. Yeah. We can have that conversation with our buyers. And it was amazing this week. The universe provided a solution for us. We disconnected the downspout, and the big rain came and washed our roofs. Okay. Now we can go back and connect it. Hopefully the roof is not going to be as dirty as it was last week. So thank God. Thank you for the rain, right?
All right. Got some more questions for water testing. This is interesting. What happens if there's a flight delay or flight cancellation and the tested water is on that flight?
Then we have to resample and resend the sample. So there are 4 samples we talked about. There's the lead, the copper, the E. coli, and the turbidity. E. coli is the big one. So E. coli can only be a maximum of 24 hours old by the time it reaches the lab for actual testing. So the lead, the copper, actually, I don't even think ACOS is actually running those samples. I think their machine's down and they've been mailing those to the mainland. So they're good for like a week. The turbidity is done in-house because it's just a light test. So the E. coli is the big heavy hitter. So typically what would happen is if the samples didn't all make it in time, then I might have to just re-pull the E. coli and just ship that one thing. But unfortunately, shipping that one thing still costs $80 because Hawaiian Air Cargo has a flat rate fee for that little box that I ship. Is what
Do
it.
you charge too?
It depends on the situation. If it's, if it's in HVP and I can go get it in 10 minutes, no. If it's in Kona, then yes. If I have to drive 2 hours, one way, go get something. Because we do the whole island. So I get calls from Captain Cook and Javi and we're all over the place. So depending on how far away we have to go to get something and our schedule, or maybe if we have to delay or, take a day out of our schedule to not do a home inspection because we have to drive 2 hours to get a water sample to make your loan move forward, then yeah, there would be a fee. But in most cases, that's why I said earlier, we send out that email to everybody and ACOS replies to me and says, yes, I can pick up your sample on Tuesday. It's going to be there Tuesday. So you've already said you would get it. So we try to make sure that I've only had it happen once. And we just went back to the house and re-pulled that one sample and resent that one and went on about our business.
Okay, similar kind of question for Uncle Tilo. I presume turnaround time on the CIR delivered to the consumer. When could they expect to receive the report after you go out to the property?
So when we do our CIRs, we do the at-home screening test for the E. coli bacteria, which does require the 48 hours. So from the time that I go out, take the sample, wait those 2 days to get my test results, I'm usually going to have the full report done within a day or two after that. So I think the longest I've ever taken from the time of the inspection till the final report was like 4 days. But that is something that we only do the screening test for E. coli. It's not the testing lab, so I'm not constrained by that turnaround time. But again, it's my screening test that I'm doing, and it's just part of our CIR, but it is a fast turnaround.
Okay. Where could someone purchase a simple, user-friendly water testing kit that would be appropriate for catchment systems?
Amazon or Uncle Tilo's. Or Uncle Tilo's.
TilosCleanWater.com, our online store has the E. coli bacteria test. There's a 2-pack on there for $35. But it is something that, here in Hawaii, there's a lot of people on Catchment. Everybody's been looking for these over the years. So Home Depot has a water test kit. Some of the other stores, will occasionally have water test kits. But it's something that, definitely online, there's a lot of stuff available. I just like to stay with our E. coli tests that we use. I feel they're one of the most reliable brands out there and very easy to use. And again, when I'm working with homeowners, I want something that's simple enough that people will feel confident using it and be able to get the results that they need in short order and without any stress. So.
Okay, next question. What if the catchment was not disconnected? I think during the eruption. How do we deal with that water?
If you didn't connect your catchment system during the last eruption, what ended up happening is we caught a little bit of ash and Pele's hair. If it ends up getting directed into the tank, it's the same as any other lava that Pele puts out there. So no different than what you're walking on the ground. It's going to add a little bit of sediment to your tank, but there is no chemistry going on there. There's no heavy metals. It's just a glassy volcanic material. The worst part of Pele's hair is the physical exposure. So that means for me, every time I open up one of those soft covers on top of the tanks, I get little glass splinters if I don't wear gloves. If you breathe those little glass splinters into your lungs, they will not come out. It's the same as working with fiberglass insulation. OSHA would tell you if you're messing around with that, you need eye protection, you need a N95 mask, and just be careful with the exposure because you will get slivers. So, but other than that, what's in the tank is not going to be harmful. It's contaminating your tank with a little bit of black sand. Your filter system will have no problem. Once you grind it up with your water pump, you'll be able to filter it out just fine. Doesn't change water quality whatsoever, but it will add material into your filters if you're running it through. And again, it's just one of those things that we do recommend. We clean our tanks, our catchment tanks regularly. And so the people that didn't disconnect are definitely going to look in their tank next round and go, wow, I just had it cleaned 6 months ago, but I can't see the bottom. What am I going to do other than call the guy up and have him clean the catchment tank again? So that's about the only side effect there.
Okay, interesting question that I had myself. What kind or how many filters do you recommend catchment owners have on their tanks to safely drink their water?
So that does go back to the U of H studies. Patricia McComber did a lot of the work, but Sue Jarvie added to that work more recently. And her big point was a lot of our big parasites, there's no way to kill them in the tank. Bleach isn't effective, UV doesn't kill them. Even quantum hasn't been tested on the big parasites, but Sue Jarvie found out that the one way she could eliminate them from a water source was to run them through that 5 micron carbon block. So when it comes to our filtration systems, we recommend 2 filters. We recommend having a really good sediment filter to get the majority of the material out, all the big stuff, like the dirt, the dust, the bird feathers, algae, whatever you got coming through that water that is clouding it up a little bit. And then that second filter is the 5 micron carbon block, ensuring that you're going to filter out any of those parasites. But again, carbon blocks are also effective at removing chemical contaminants. So if you do, have do a bleach treatment, you have chlorine in there, that carbon block is going to take out 99% of the chlorine. If you accidentally get a little petroleum product in your tank, the neighbor is spraying herbicide or pesticide on a windy day, and it comes on your roof right before the rain shower, that carbon block is just something that's meant to remove a lot of those contaminants like that. And definitely the 2 filters is just the beginning. That's the pre-treatment of the water. You still want to have some form of water disinfection. Okay.
All right, so hang in here, guys, for just one more minute. Any more questions, please put them in the chat or raise your hands. But in the next minute here, I just want some updates for you. Typically, we do like one hot topic per month, approximately, typically on Thursdays, either at 11 or 1 o'clock normally. But this month, we've got a 2-for package. And the end of the month, on the 26th, which is a Thursday, at 1 o'clock, our friend Julie Mitchell will be with us from Kuikai Mediation Center, talking about new information relating to Act 278, the new eviction mediation requirements in the state. Something we're going to be hearing more and more about over the next few months. That is what I wanted to cover. Otherwise, too, once again, and that'll be from our GAC committee, primarily our Government Action Committee. Again, today we're brought to you by our Education Committee and our Green Real Estate Action Team Committee. So feel free. We're looking forward to having more of you join us on the committees. We have awesome committees. Typically, our meetings are the second Monday of the month for education at noon, and the great team at 1 o'clock. So if you're interested in joining us, shoot me an email, give us a call. And with that being said, I think we got a whole bunch of mahalos here, folks. So that's a good thing. Thank you all for joining us. Much appreciated. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode of our Hot Topics series.